to this week's Assignment the World. I'm Ginny Batchelor. This week's top story is President Reagan's speech Wednesday night on the American economy. In a televised speech to Congress and the American people this week, President Reagan explained how he proposes to solve problems of inflation and unemployment. He believes a major reason for our poor economy is too much government spending. So he proposes that federal spending should be reduced by $41 billion. He feels the government should spend less for the space program, unemployment benefits, food stamps, school lunch and breakfast programs, education, and the arts. He does not want to reduce programs that help truly needy people. The only department Reagan wants to increase spending in is defense. The second important part of President Reagan's proposal is to reduce taxes by 10% a year for the next 3 years. That would mean each family would pay hundreds of dollars less in taxes each year.
19 years ago this week, February 20th, 1962, John Glenn became the first American astronaut to travel into orbit. After being launched from Cape Canaveral, Glenn orbited the Earth 3 times and landed safely in the Atlantic Ocean.
The United States announced this week that it has evidence the Soviet Union has been helping one side in El Salvador's civil war. You may remember that the United States supports the junta, or ruling group, which is the government of El Salvador. This junta is opposed by a group of leftists. The U.S. says these leftists are getting weapons from the Soviet Union, which is shipping them through Cuba. Both the Soviet Union and Cuba are communist countries. When Carter was president, it was the policy of our government to supply military aid only to governments which were concerned with human rights. And for a while, we cut off military aid to El Salvador. The Reagan administration says that our government will help El Salvador fight the communists, whether or not it has a good record protecting human rights. This is a major policy change for our government. Although we haven't included this story before, it's one you may have been following. During the past year and a half, 18 young black children have been reported missing in Atlanta, Georgia. Although they ranged in age from 7 to 15, all of the children were small and young-looking. This week, the bodies of 2 more children were found by volunteers who have been searching wooded areas. So far, 17 bodies have been found. No one knows why these children have been killed, but police are working on the case. A special investigation team has been formed, consisting of 35 police from the city of Atlanta, the state of Georgia, and from the FBI, which is the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They are trying to track down the killer or killers of these children.
Time for our first pop quiz. In his speech Wednesday night, President Reagan said billions of dollars must be trimmed from the budget. However, one area that Reagan wants more spending in is government jobs, defense, school lunches. And the correct answer is number 2, defense.
Time for the answers to last week's clues. Suffragette refers to Susan B. Anthony, who was honored on her birth date, February 15th. The word suffrage means the right to vote, and at one time women did not have this right. Susan B. Anthony tried to have a law passed giving women this right and was even arrested for voting illegally. It wasn't until 1920 that the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was approved, giving women the right to vote. That was 14 years after Susan B. Anthony died. Cards and candy refers to Valentine's Day on February 14th. This tradition may be based on an old English belief that on this date, birds choose their mates. Or it may have originated hundreds of years ago when the Roman Emperor Claudius forbid young men from marrying. But a Christian priest named Valentine ignored Claudius and married young couples anyway. You already know Message to Congress refers to President Reagan's speech on the budget, but you may wonder why the president just doesn't go ahead and do what he wants. That's because Congress must approve the budget before it goes to the president's desk. During the next few weeks, you'll hear whether congressmen agree or disagree with the president's proposals.
Time for our second pop quiz. The United States has decided we will send more military aid to the government of El Salvador. This government is threatened by leftists supplied with weapons from the Soviet Union, Mexico, Cuba. the correct answer is number 1, the Soviet Union.
The stories on Assignment The World deal with real events, some happy, some tragic. But today, reporter Norma Press takes us from this real world into a very different one, the world of magic.
This is not an ordinary classroom, and Mr. Taylor is not an ordinary teacher. He is Ballard the magician. He has been practicing magic for 50 years and also teaches it to adults and children.
Well, I think magic is the creation of miracles. For the enjoyment of an audience, they know they're being fooled and they love it. It appeals to all ages, young kids, older people. I've been in many homes and done this for people 80 years old, and they still laugh and get a kick out of it.
Ballard says a magician allows you to see only what he wants you to see, and to think only what he wants you to think. One technique he often uses is misdirection, causing the audience to look in one direction while he's concealing the gimmick in a different direction. For example, watch the red silk disappear.
The way this is accomplished, it's done by the use of a pull. So what happens, I must make a move this way, the misdirection. It's like this. My left hand goes over and gets the pull. Now I have it in this hand. This is the pull. And all I do is put it in the pull, like this. Once I have it in the pull, you just do like this, it flies up your sleeve. That's all there is to it.
Ballard tells the students there are 3 do-not rules that magicians follow. Do not repeat a trick for the same audience, since they may catch on to the gimmick the second time around. Do not tell anyone the secret. You won't seem so remarkable when everyone knows your gimmick. And most important, do not do a trick until you've practiced. The best magicians have practiced so much that they can use simple things like cards or coins to amaze us. And has Ballard ever been fooled by another magician?
Yes, I have. I've been fooled several times. And it's usually something very obvious. It's so obvious you just don't believe it's that simple.
For Assignment The World, I'm Norma Press.
51 years ago this week, February 18th, 1930, the planet Pluto was discovered by astronomer Clyde W. Tombaugh. Pluto is the furthest planet from the sun and the smallest planet in our solar system.
It now costs 15 cents to mail a letter, but the Postal Service says that's not enough to cover its costs. It wants to raise the price of stamps for first-class letters to 20 cents, and it predicts yet another increase will be needed in 3 years. One United States congressman has proposed a different way of raising money for the Postal Service. Representative Barry Goldwater, Jr. of California wants to allow companies to buy advertising space on postage stamps. He proposes that each company would pay at least $10,000 to have its slogan or trademark on a certain number of stamps. In support of his idea, Goldwater says the Postal Service could raise $1.2 billion if ads were sold for all 6 billion stamps made each year. This will lower the cost of mailing letters for everyone. Others supporting his proposal say advertising will be good for business, too. But some serious stamp collectors are against the idea. They say stamps should be used to honor famous Americans. Others opposed to the idea say we're already bombarded with too much advertising on TV, radio, in magazines and in newspapers. Well, what do you think? Should advertising be allowed on postage stamps? Write and tell us what you think. We'd like to hear from each one of you. Almost 500 letters came into our ATW mailbag this week, answering our question of 2 weeks ago, should gas prices be controlled by the government or by the oil companies? An overwhelming number of you, 76.8%, agreed that the government should be in control, while 16.9% of you viewers said that the oil companies should be able to set their own prices. The remaining 6.3% of you were undecided. Those of you who favored government control felt it was the only alternative. If the oil companies were in control, prices would skyrocket, making it impossible for anyone to afford gas. Lane Passero of Lutz, Florida, suggests that this has already happened. President Reagan lifted the controls on gas prices, and they have gone up considerably. The oil companies took advantage of the lack of price controls, and the American people now have to suffer. But if the government can put controls back on gas prices, we may be able to afford gasoline once more. Going along with this idea, Danny Robson and Mark Eaton of Ballston Lake, New York, show us in picture form what they think will happen if oil companies have complete control. In the drawing, the regular customer cannot afford the oil company prices. They pointed out that the government is not money hungry like oil company owners would be if we left it up to them to give us our prices. Those of you who felt the oil companies should set gas prices gave many equally valid reasons. Some said that the government should not interfere with business, that the oil companies are the ones that pay for finding the oil and selling it, and some even felt that private control allows more competition and better prices. Jimmy Conroy from Dix Hills, New York, brings up another interesting idea. I feel the controls by the oil companies will raise prices of gas, but will force us to conserve fuel. Also, this will enable the oil companies to seek out more sources of fuel. We want to encourage you to keep sending in your ideas to our mailbag, and we hope to hear from all of you on our latest questions. Should there be co-educational gym classes, and should advertising be allowed on postage stamps? Send your letters, pictures, and poems to us here at Assignment the World, Post Office Box 21, Rochester, New York, 14601. And now it's time for the clues to next week's show. Test fire. Test fire. Second clue for next week, Soviet Congress. Soviet Congress. And finally for next week, student strike. Student strike. These are clues to events we think will happen during the coming week. Good luck.
Time for our third pop quiz. Special police are trying to find the killer or killers of at least 17 black children in a large southern city. This city is Tampa, Florida, Savannah, Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. And the correct answer is number 3, Atlanta, Georgia.
Peanut and peanut butter lovers across the country may be in for tough times. Supplies of these items are decreasing while prices are going up. The reason? Last summer's dry weather meant a poor peanut crop. Now that shortage has shown up on the supermarket shelves. Some stores are limiting how many jars customers may buy, and former President Carter, himself a peanut farmer, approved increased imports of peanuts. Many people hope this will hold down rising peanut prices, which are expected to go up 50%. If that happens, a 99-cent jar of peanut butter would sell for $1.49, and that's not peanuts. But that is our show for this week. From all of us here at Assignment the World, I'm Ginny Batchelor. We'll see you next week.